Thank you very much, Council Member McCullough. At this time, I would like to ask our City Clerk, Susan Nash, if she would please take the roll.
Councilmember McCullough.
Present, Livonia, Michigan.
Thank you.
Councilmember Donovic.
President, gone on military duty.
Councilmember Jolly.
Present, Livonia, Michigan.
Councilmember Toy.
Here, Livonia, Michigan.
Vice President Barr.
Here, Livonia, Michigan.
Councilmember White.
Present, Livonia, Michigan.
President McIntyre.
Present, Livonia, Michigan, in Wayne County. Thank you, Madam Clerk. So we have all members of the council with us this evening. At this time, we go to the presentation of the minutes from the 1,912th regular meeting of the council that was held on January 13th, 2021.
Madam President, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you. Support from Council Member Toy. Are there any discussions or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you please take the vote on approval of the minutes from the January 13th meeting?
Councilmember McCullough.
Aye.
Councilmember Donovic.
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly.
Aye.
Councilmember Toy.
Aye.
Vice President Barr.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
President McIntyre.
Aye, and the minutes of the January 13th meeting are approved unanimously. And with that, I will go to the official welcome of tonight's meeting. This is the 913th regular meeting of the Livonia City Council. It is a voting meeting. Minutes of this meeting will be approved at the next regular meeting, which is scheduled to be held on Monday, February 8th, 2020. And at this time, I'm sorry, Mayor, did you? Okay. At this time, we go to the council for any personal announcements, tributes, or recognition. Members of the council. Council Member McCullough.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to take a quick moment. I know there may be residents here that are in reaction to a news story about this council from our last meeting. While I don't think the story perfectly put everything into context, it spoke to something that I regret reflecting on my first year on council. I don't want to speak for any of my colleagues on here on council, and that doesn't mean that they don't agree with me, but I personally know that I could do a better job of making those who speak during audience communication feel valued and feel heard. And I pledge going forward to do a better job. I also don't want to get ahead of ourselves from our agenda here tonight, but there are important things happening in the city and vital progress is being made on diversity, equity, and inclusion issues. In tonight's meeting, we're going to be considering a contract that would add mental health and social services supports to our public safety infrastructure. This is going to put mental health professionals in a lot of difficult situations that our police officers otherwise and often find themselves in. In addition, in our study meeting, we're beginning consideration of funding to update our PAC data transparency page that will pull data directly from the Clemens system, update more regularly, and be more accessible. Again, I don't want to get ahead of myself a bit here, but I just want to state tonight that we can do better, and I pledge to do better going forward. On a completely different and more interesting subject, I did want to wish my wife a very happy birthday this Saturday. She's going to be turning 25. I don't want to give her age, but big shout out to Casey and happy birthday. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. McCullough, for your comments and for your preview of the tonight's agenda items. Anyone else from the council wish to have any comments or announcements they'd like to make? Seeing none, I will. We have some new data on item number 3, and I will refer to that data when we get to item number 3. And some happy birthday wishes to some current and former city friends of the city and department heads and former elected officials. Paul Bernier and Brandy Isaacson will be celebrating birthdays on February 2nd. Happy birthday, Paul and Brandy. Former council member John Pastor will be celebrating a birthday on February 3rd. Former city council member and city attorney Don Knapp will be celebrating a birthday on February 4th. And Brandon Kritzman, former councilman, will be celebrating a birthday on February 5th. And we know undoubtedly that at least I'm sure one of Brandon's children will also be celebrating a birthday around that time, because I think we rarely got through a meeting that Brandon didn't have the pleasure of announcing the birthday of one of his 5 daughters. So happy birthday to all of those fine friends of the city. And at this time, it's my pleasure and privilege to introduce our department heads. I will go just in the order I see on the screen, and then whoever is in the audience, beginning with our city attorney, Mr. Paul Bernier, our mayor, of course, Maureen Miller-Brosnan, our manager of the council office and administrative affairs, Sarah Kasperwich, our city engineer, Mr. Todd Zelensik, our director of governmental affairs, Ms. LaShawn Thomas, our director of planning and economic development, Mr. Mark Termina, our IT director, Casey O'Neill. Let me pop over to the other side and see who's on from the city. Our director of administrative services, Mr. David Varga, our DPW superintendent, Mr. Doug Moore, and our city, and I'm sorry, how could I forget our city clerk, Susan Nash, who starts work at the beginning of the meeting. So it's certainly one of our key officials. Our city treasurer, Linda Scheel, and let me see. No, we have several, I see that we have several, also have several members of the media with us this evening. At this time, we go to my announcements. I would like to give a special welcome to 2 special guests that I see that we have with us tonight from the 3rd Circuit Court in Wayne County, and that is Judge Tim Kenny, the Honorable Timothy M. Kenny, and the Honorable, and I'm sure I saw him on here. Let's see, I believe the Honorable Freddie Burton. So thank you, judges, for being with us this evening. At this time, we go to audience communication. This is an opportunity for anyone in the audience to address the council on any item that is not on this evening's agenda. And as always, I'm going to ask our parliamentarian, the Honorable Kathy White, council member, if she would please read the rules for audience communication.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the public audience at the meeting shall not speak until they are recognized by the chair. Each person recognized by the chair to address the council shall identify himself or herself by name and, if appropriate, group affiliation. A person addressing council on an item on the agenda shall be limited to 2 minutes, unless the period of time is extended by a majority of the council present, and shall be recognized to speak prior to council's consideration of the item. There will be an audience communication section of not more than 30 minutes duration at the beginning of all regular council and study meetings where citizens may address the council. There will also be an audience communication section at the end of all regular and study council meetings where citizens may address the council on any matter that is not on the agenda of that meeting. Citizens who wish to expand upon their remarks will be asked to reduce the matter to writing and submit it to the city clerk, and such item may be placed on a future council study session for further consideration. A person addressing council under the audience communications portion of the agenda will be limited to a total of 3 minutes at each study or regular meeting, unless the period of time is extended by a majority of the council present. A citizen may address the council once during audience communication. If the citizen has addressed the council during the first audience communication period at the beginning of the meeting, the citizen will not be permitted to address the council again during any audience communication period at the end of the meeting. Anyone addressing the council shall make responsible comments. Personal, impertinent, slanderous, or profane remarks are not permitted, and anyone causing a breach of the peace may be removed from the council meeting. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. And I also wanted to indicate with department heads, thank you very much. And just a pause before we go to audience communication. I did want to indicate that our police chief, Kurt Cade, is with us, and I'm just not, I just saw him, so he is here. Thank you, Vice President Barr, for letting me know that the chief was on here too, department heads. So again, I'll move over to audience communication, and this is for anyone who wishes to address an item not on this evening's agenda. So if you want to address the council on item number 3 about the contract with Hagera Health, this is not the time you would do that. You would do that when we get to that agenda item. So with that, I will begin with Eric Marcotte. Good evening, Mr. Marcotte. Let's see. You should be able to unmute yourself. There you go. Good evening.
Ma'am, I'm with the, this is Sergeant Marcotte with the police department.
Oh, Sergeant, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
And did you wish to address the council?
I'm going to present after Chief Cade presents.
Okay. All right. That's why I didn't, I'm so sorry, Sergeant Marcotte. I recognize the last name, but I didn't know that was you. So my apologies.
Okay.
Confusion.
No worries.
All right. So we'll hear from you in a little shortly, Sergeant Marcotte. Thank you. All right. Let's see. We have Jody White. Good evening. Good evening, Ms. White.
Thank you for having me today. I am interested in what is going on with the officers today and helping with the abuse that has been going on in our.
Okay, then that would, if you're.
Well, I was going to talk about the Michigan Probate Courts. So I was just going to, as usual.
Excuse me, just one moment. I'm sorry. Did you wish to speak on the agenda item tonight about social? Or just a general comment about the police? Excuse me, just a general comment about the police, please.
Well, you told us not to talk about the agenda item, but I'm calling about the Michigan Probate Courts, and I am calling from Michigan Probate Radio, and I just want to thank the council for taking the needs of our citizens very seriously and what you are doing for the citizens of Livonia. So it's just short and sweet. I want to say thank you, and I will have more to say at the second half of the meeting.
Thank you very much, and I apologize. We need to make sure that that we're consistent with our rules for audience communication, and sometimes they're a little bit fuzzy the way we explain them. So thank you for your comments. Would anyone else like to address the council on any item not on this evening's agenda? Now is an opportunity to do so. Calling once for comments, calling twice. I just saw a hand come up. Let's see, Colleen Badgero. Good evening.
It's Badgero.
Badgero, I'm sorry.
No problem. I just wanted to respond to Mr. McCullough's opening statements. I really appreciate his ongoing openness to discussion and, you know, the critical conversations I've heard cited elsewhere. I haven't found that same openness everywhere in attempts to engage. So I actually had a question. I was hoping everyone could share what their preferred means of communication with citizens are, whether that's email, phone call, these meetings. Obviously, the communications are a little turbulent at times, so I'm trying to find the best way to effectively exchange ideas.
Well, Ms. Badger, I'll give my colleagues an opportunity to respond. I will tell you that I endeavor to respond to phone calls, to emails, not always to comments at council meetings. That's not always the best forum. And I will tell you that some of the people that have expressed dissatisfaction with the council not engaging, that one of those individuals I actually returned an email to early in the process, and then that individual indicated on the individual's blog that he or she did not, they were kind of proud of the fact they didn't bother to respond to me. So I'm accessible through all of those channels and have engaged with people and spent hours and hours, email and phone calls. And I appreciate the outreach and take it seriously and always endeavor to respond to everyone. I don't know if any of my colleagues wish to respond to this too also. Yes, Councilmember McCullough.
Thank you, Madam President. Colleen, obviously, phone or email are always a good way to get a hold of me. So I would prefer to stick to those channels if that's a good means. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Councilmember Toy, unmute.
Phone or email is perfect too, as well. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Councilmember Jolly.
Thank you, Madam President. I would prefer email. It's easier to get back to people for me. So if you need to contact me, please do so there. Thank you.
All right.
Madam President.
I'm sorry. Councilmember White.
Email is best for me too. I will return phone calls, but email is the quickest. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam President.
Vice President Barr.
Just since we're all participating, I'll join the party. Contact information's on the website. Endeavor to respond to people when they contact me. So I think I echo what everybody else is saying. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Donovan.
I didn't want to save the best for last, but yeah, email, Facebook, phone, whatever communication device you prefer. I love talking, so if anybody wants to talk, just give me a ring anytime.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Donovan. I think we covered everyone. So thank you, and thank you, Ms. Badgerow, for your question.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Next, we'll go to Mr. Hillers. Good evening, Mr. Hillers.
Good evening. I apologize. There was a delay in my unmute. I wanted to say, even though I'm not commenting on the agenda items, just in general, I think these are very good items for the council to discuss, and I'm excited that the city is moving forward in this area. I wanted to share with you a story. So, Livonia resident had reached out to me on Saturday night and shared this story, which I thought would be important for you to hear. She says that almost 5 years ago, her and her husband had welcomed two Black teenagers who had aged out of foster care into their home to attend Madonna University. In their first year of attending Madonna, they were pulled over by LPD 5 times in 1 year. Tickets were not issued. A reason for the stop was never given. She says that she had contacted city council and they directed her to go to the chief of police. So she had called the chief and informed him of the issue. He had said that his officers do not racially profile. After that phone call, her son had been pulled over around 6 p.m. on Linden in full daylight, leaving the rec center. He was handcuffed, searched, and the car searched. People came out of their houses to watch what the commotion was. He wasn't given a reason for the stop. He wasn't issued a ticket. And the officer was seen turning his body camera off as he got out of the car. She had called Chief Cade and asked him why this had happened. He said he would investigate and get back to her. He called her back a couple days later, stating there was no evidence that the incident ever occurred. During this time, after this, she had talked to other students at Madonna University. After compiling a list of 14 students who had been similarly stopped, searched, handcuffed without a reason given, and then let go, or a ticket issued, she called Chief Cade back, providing the names of the 14 students, the dates and times and location of where they were stopped. Chief Cade's response to her was to ask if she knew how many Blacks shoplift from Meijer or Walmart. I personally find this, well, besides obviously reprehensible, it does show that the current oversight process for the Livonia Police Department is not working. This person had a supposed negative experience with LPD. As council and the mayor's office has said previously, She followed the procedure of filing a complaint with the LPD. The LPD investigated themselves and determined they did nothing wrong. Mr. Barr, as you have said, good leaders welcome accountability and oversight. I firmly agree with that, and I think this story is a good example of why an oversight commission is needed for the Livonia Police Department. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hillers. And I'd just like to address one thing that you said. This is your retelling of someone else's experience, which is,
Yes.
that's fine. And also a hearsay, if you will, about something that the chief said. So I just wanted to acknowledge that you didn't hear those comments yourself. So make that clear.
Absolutely. And she did share that she had shared with the current city council this story, but has not received a response to any of her emails.
Well, I will go back and look at my emails. I don't recall receiving emails. I do recall a woman that I know well who had shared some similar concerns, similar circumstances, and we had conversations at length, and I believe she met with the chief. So maybe it's someone else, and I will certainly scour my emails. I see that the chief has his hand raised, and I'm going to go to the chief in the event that Chief.
Real quick before you go to the chief, Mrs. McIntyre, or Ms. I'm sorry, I don't know if it's Miss or Mrs.
No,
but,
it's no problem.
While you're going through your emails, I had sent you an email last June and have not received a response, and a follow-up, I think it was like towards the end of June, and a follow-up in July. So if you could look for that and get back to me, I would appreciate it.
I'd be happy to, Mr. Hillers.
Thank you.
All right, with that, I will go to Chief Cade. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. Just very quickly to that item that Mr. Hillers referred to. I recall the conversations early on with that individual. I do not recall any names, but that statement that he alleges that I said about shoplifters at Walmart or Meijer or whatever it was, I never said anything of the nature. So I don't know where that's coming from, and quite frankly,
We need oversight.
well, anyway, I'll just let it.
Sorry, I didn't realize I wasn't on mute. I apologize.
Yeah, you're on.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you very much, Chief Cade. I'm sorry for the interruption. Also, Mr. Hillers, we do have the mayor on this evening, and I'm sure she's hearing all this. And as you know, the police department reports to the mayor, and all the oversight of the police department, its operations come through the chief to the mayor's office. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Is there anyone else who would like to communicate with the council on any item not on this evening's agenda? All right. I see Tom Avasic, and I apologize, Mr. Avasic, if you would please educate me on the correct pronunciation of your name. You should be able to address the council at this time. Trying.
Can you hear me?
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, my name is Tom Evasic.
Evasic, thank you, Mr. Evasic.
I'm an 80-year-old senior, a resident of Livonia for over 50 years, and I love the city of Livonia. The reason for my visit this evening is to discuss the Silver Sneakers program, now accepted by the REC, and its restrictions on the senior citizens. The Silver Sneakers program is a benefit offered by Blue Cross Blue Shield to seniors and is a win-win for both the seniors and Blue Cross. A healthier senior is a lower cost benefit for Blue Cross Blue Shield. The Silver Sneakers program is managed by a company called Tivia Health, and it compensates the Livonia Rec each month for each Silver Sneakers person that attends the Rec. I've previously used the Silver Sneakers program at the YMCA, Fitness 19, LA Fitness, none of which informed me that I had a restricted time use. When I signed up at the Rec, I was told that my time usage was restricted to weekdays only, and a time limit of from 8 to 3 p.m. I felt like I was discriminated against because of my age. Exercise for seniors is a high priority, for it maintains our health and our longevity. When I looked into the matter and contacted Tivia Health, I was told that the restrictions were totally a result of the Livonia wreck. When I asked Tivia Health if they would approve a no restriction program, they had no obligation or no objection to that. The rec offered a matinee program to Tivia at a cost to the seniors at $190 a year with limited restrictions. A full membership at $195 has unlimited usage. For a $5 difference and a significant restriction on time, I find it disappointing that the city of Livonia would treat the citizens that way. I am asking the city of Livonia, the city council, to look into changing the Silver Sneakers program to an unrestricted time usage. I appreciate your attendance to me and could answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Basic, for your comments. Councilmember Toy, did you wish to respond to that?
Well, Madam President, thank you, sir, for your comments and bringing them forward. Perhaps before we get into this, we could, find out some of the background of that. So maybe to our administration or however they want to direct that in regards to, Mr. Davis, whoever over there that might be able to help us out. We don't have all the answers, obviously, and I'm sure they want to, look into it. In all fairness, I appreciate the gentleman coming forward, but that might be more appropriate to do at this point as well, Madam President and others. Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Toy, so are you offering a resolution for a report from the?
Sure. Yeah, great. Yeah, sure.
Okay, sorry, I wasn't sure if that was your.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I wasn't real clear, I guess. Okay.
Thank you. Do we have a?
It happens when you get older, by the way.
Do we have support for Councilmember Toy, Vice President Barr? I'm sorry, your hand.
Yeah, I'll support it, Madam President. But the reason I want to speak, and maybe we can just combine these things. First of all, Mr. Evasic, you had emailed me, and you are literally on my list of people to get back to, and I have not gotten back to you yet. But I did get your email on this, and you're one of a number of people over the last week that have emailed with similar complaints. Or called with similar complaints. And what I was going to suggest tonight, and perhaps if Councilwoman Toy is amenable to this, if she wants to just modify what she had talked about, we could just do it that way or whatever. But I was going to suggest we put this in the Senior Citizens and Families Committee, which is chaired by Councilman Donovic. I think there's been enough concerns about how this has been rolled out that I think it'd be worthwhile for us to just take a look at it and better understand how this program works and how it's working. And that seems like the most appropriate committee for it, unless with Councilman Donovic's current location, if it's easier, we could put it in the Health Committee too, which is Councilwoman Toy's committee. But Councilwoman Toy, I seconded your motion, but I didn't know if you'd prefer to do that. I guess I'll leave it up to you.
Whatever works for everyone is fine.
What would you like to do, Councilmember Toy? Would you like to put it in committee?
Whose committee is it? Donovic's?
Yes.
That's fine. That's fine. Let the young guy go on that one. Sure.
All right. So we have so I guess we have a Mr. Jolly.
Thank you, Madam President. Would it not be more appropriate to refer this to the Parks and Recs Commission, as this is specifically something that they deal with and they set the kind of parameters for the operation of the rec center specifically?
I mean, council members are free to refer things to committee if they would like us to take a closer look at things. I mean, if you would like to refer this to the administration also simultaneously, you could do that.
I'm just tossing it out there. I think it's a more appropriate fit, but whatever the motion is fine. Thanks.
Okay. Councilmember Toy.
We could invite Parks and Rec into that meeting too. I mean, if that's appropriate for everyone, you know, the more the merrier. I mean, I don't know if it's that an issue. That's why I kind of wanted to report on it. But if we need to go to a committee for further explanation, others feel comfortable with that, that's fine. I mean, I don't have a problem with that.
Madam President.
Vice President Barr, and then Councilmember Donovan.
I appreciate Councilman Jolly's comments, and you know, perhaps the committee meeting is premature, and maybe a report from the administration is more appropriate. And if the Parks and Rec Commission is the best place to do that, that's fine. I guess this is getting kind of messy because Laura had a motion out there. I seconded it so we could discuss, but perhaps the report back is most appropriate. But Laura's leading the motion at this point, so I need to let her lead that. So
I think what I'm hearing, if I'm correct, Councilmember Toy, is that the resolution has now re-become a request to refer to the administration for
let them handle that. They best know, you know, who, you know, that's fine. They work for the administration. I think that's appropriate. Yeah. There's nothing like getting it from the horse's mouth. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I mean to coin the phrase like that,
Yeah.
but you know what I'm saying? And to all due respect, that gives the administration a chance to hone in on that.
Okay. And so, Mr. Barr, are you in support?
So, Madam President, can I ask
Yes.
a question? So
Please.
Councilwoman Toy, are you referring it to the administration? Or are you referring it to the Parks and Rec Commission? I think it's important that we distinguish.
To the administration who oversees the Parks and Rec and the director of Parks and Rec.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I'll support. Thanks.
Okay, thanks.
All right, any discussion? All right, seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you please take the vote on council members' motion to refer this to the administration for report and recommendation?
Councilmember McCullough,
Aye.
Councilmember Donovan,
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly,
Aye.
Councilmember Toy,
Sorry, aye.
Vice President Barr,
Aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
President McIntyre.
Aye, and that motion is approved unanimously. We will refer this to the administration for report and recommendation. All right, thank you, Mr. Evasic. Anyone else from the audience who wishes to address the council on any item not on this evening's agenda? Calling once, calling twice, final call for audience communication. Seeing none, we will close this session of audience communication. At this time, we go to reports from the mayor and other city officials. I do not show anything. Opportunity, if anyone from the administration wishes to. Seeing nothing, we will continue with our consent agenda. We have no consent agenda this week. So with that, we will move on to unfinished business, beginning with item number 1. This is a roll call vote. This is a proposed amendment to the Livonia Code of Ordinances. This is vacating as amended. This comes from the Department of Law regarding Council Resolution 2020-09-03-04 submitted by Group 10 Management on behalf of Laurel Investment Company, LLC, to vacate an existing public utility easement located on the west side of North Laurel Park Drive between 6 Mile Road and University Park Drive, 17117 and 17123 North Laurel Park Drive, Holiday Inn, located in the southeast quarter of Section 7. The first reading was given by Councilmember Kathy White on January 13th, 2021.
Madam Chair, I'll offer second reading.
All right, any discussion? All right, see no discussion from the audience. Would you please, Madam Clerk, take the roll call vote, second reading?
Councilmember McCullough,
Aye.
Councilmember Donovan,
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly,
Aye.
Councilmember Toy,
Aye, I'm sorry. The mute button.
Vice President Barr,
Aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
President McIntyre.
Aye, and the amendment is approved by roll call vote in the second reading. And just a reminder, this ordinance will not become effective until it's been published in the Livonia Observer. Now we go to new business. Item number 2 is a request to approve Fifth Amendment to the lease agreement between the City of Livonia and the new Singular Wireless PCS Incorporated, DBA, doing business as AT&T Wireless PCS LLC. This comes to us from the Department of Law to rent space at the base of the tower for a natural gas powered generator, and these were council resolutions 2041-20, 406-18, Council Resolution 29-12, Council Resolution 120-98, and Council Resolution 18-97. Council.
Madam President,
Vice President Barr.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
All right, support from Councilmember Jolly. Any discussion? Any discussion from the audience? All right, seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you please go ahead and take the vote on this this amendment, this lease agreement amendment?
Councilmember McCullough,
Aye.
Councilmember Donovic,
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly,
Aye.
Councilmember Toy,
Yeah, aye.
Vice President Barr,
Aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
President McIntyre.
Aye, and the amendment of the lease agreement is approved unanimously by the council. Thank you, Madam Clerk. And we go to item number 3. This is a request to waive the formal bidding process and authorize agreement with Hagera Health. This comes from the Division of Police to provide law enforcement / mental health co-response services to the residents of Livonia. And I did want to note that the council received new data from the mayor's office dated January 22nd, 2021, and would like to request that this be received and placed on file for the information of the council. Councilmember Jolly.
Madam President, I'll offer an approving resolution.
All right, we have support. Support from Councilmember McCullough. Any discussion?
Madam President, if I may, I look forward to hearing the presentation from the Chief of Police, how this will be utilized. Thank you.
Excellent. So at this time, I think, I'm sorry, Councilmember Toy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to look at, as we're looking at this, and I don't want to insult anyone, okay? I'm not here to do that tonight, but what I'm here to do and say is, this is a very, very important issue, as we all realize. And I just have a problem in regards to looking at this issue right now without a major study on this issue. And we're putting it on a voting meeting. And I don't know how many folks that may be involved. I don't know if we have any social workers here, psychologists, psychiatrists that will hone in on this. And I would like to hear the presentation has been mentioned, but I also want to honor the fact that these are voting meetings. And in a voting meeting, we usually have our homework done by now. This has been put on a meeting, and I appreciate that for whatever reason. And I get that, except that we don't have time to really study things like this. And this has an attachment of a cost to it as well. And we want to make sure that we're doing the right thing. And in order to do that, I'd like to bring a lot of the parties together and look at it. I know we've invited a few of them, and I appreciate that. But I also appreciate, as a council person, the time to study it. I also appreciate that any information that comes to council is supposed to have a 24-hour notice. I find that we're getting information later than we're supposed to. And as council people, we have to answer to the public. And I want to make sure that we're getting all the kinds of things we need on a very important issue, a very sensitive issue that this could become. And I want to make sure that all my colleagues and everyone, that's involved is covered well. And I know that we've researched this. I've heard that through just different phone calls just today and a little bit last night. And I appreciate that. But by the same token, I want to make sure we have ample time to look at this and know and do some research in other areas as well. So I look forward to the discussion and what we're going to be doing on this, and possibly maybe some of those answers will be forward. But I'm just saying, Madam Chair, it's a little late. I would have liked to had a little bit more time on this possibly. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Council Member Toy. I'm just curious about, you cite new agenda 24 hours. We received new agenda on Friday, the 22nd. So,
Madam President, if I may, I misspoke. I meant new information. Pardon me.
yeah, the only new information I have, Council Member, just for point of clarification, was received on Friday.
Okay, I got some today. I'll share that with you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. At this time, Chief Cade, I'd like to turn this over to you. And you begin, and I'm going to figure out how we can get everyone that you would like to speak unmuted and do a smooth process. So everyone that is part of your presentation can easily speak. So, Chief?
Thank you, Madam President, members of council. Before I begin the presentation and introductions, if I can invite the mayor for her comments on this issue. Mayor?
Thanks, Chief. I appreciate that. And council, I really do sincerely appreciate you taking this agenda item up tonight. As you are all aware, as I am, this is an issue that has been one that the Livonia Police Department has been talking about, has been researching for well over a year now. And we've been anxious to get this before you because we do believe that it is an amazingly comprehensive program and plan for our community. And Councilwoman Toy has set the bar really high for us tonight to step up, step in, and answer all the questions that you might have. I am confident that you are going to walk away from this meeting as confident as I am that this is the ideal program coming to our community at the ideal time. I want to start by just giving a little bit of history. When I took office around a year ago, I asked all the department heads to come on in and share with me their top priorities. And this was a top priority for Chief Cade. It was one of the most important things that he was committed to delivering to our community. He cited instantly for me the need for additional resources in both behavioral and mental health in our community, seeing an increase and a rise in the calls to the department that were outside of the realm of normal police work. And this is something that has been an experience of not just the city of Livonia. It is a nationwide crisis, but it is one that our police chief and our department was prepared to address and working hard to address, not just with our community here in Livonia, but as leaders throughout the region. The chief was working along with other police chiefs to try to make this more of a regional program. At one point in time, we decided that Livonia just could not wait any longer, so we moved full speed ahead. And what you have before you tonight is the most innovative program that exists currently in Southeast Michigan. The need for a crisis support team was escalated once COVID-19 hit. Clearly, all the stresses, all the anxieties that people were feeling and were experiencing were exacerbated by the fact that folks were contained and not able to meet their normal schedules and the normal demands of daily life. All of that has led to an increase in the number of behavioral and mental health issues that our police department is dealing with. So I am really anxious to share with you what I believe is an added social service, a critical added social service tool to our police safety toolkit. Like I said, Livonia is not unlike other communities, and oftentimes I hear about this on a regional basis because of my role on the board of directors at St. Mary Mercy Health. When we, every year, every 3 years actually, we do what we call a community needs assessment. And in the last round of that needs assessment, one of the top priorities, one of the top needs areas for all of the communities that we serve was mental health. and a lack of mental health services. So again, I do believe that Livonia is going to be able to put together a program that is going to assist, hopefully, in providing better mental health on a more regional basis as a result of this program. Some of what is important to look at is that Livonia's community, the Livonia community has put together a very unique, a very innovative program where we're partnering with Hagera, a trusted partner, one that we've relied on in the past, to help us embed in the police department 2 social workers. As I said, a first of its kind social work program in the region. And what it's going to give us is not only the ability to rise to the demand of a crisis, but to continue to manage the care, case management, continued case management, even beyond the crisis that happens at the moment. That is something that police work doesn't normally get a chance to do. So making sure that we've got 2 embedded social workers in our department clearly puts us head and shoulders above other departments in providing care for the people in our community. I, along with the Livonia Human Relations Commission, stand in support of this program. I'm hoping that after you hear from the police chief, as well as the experts that he's got assembled here this evening, that you too will join me in the support of the program. Nobody knows this area of work better than Chief Cade, and nobody knows the impact of this work more than Judge Kenny and Judge Burton. They see it every day in their courts. I'm anxious for you to hear from them, from their perspective, the impact that this could have on a community like Livonia. So thank you very much for your time, your attention to this matter tonight, and for the time that you give it this evening and the time you've given to studying it prior to tonight. Thank you. Chief, I'm turning it over to you now to tell them all the good news about the program.
One moment, just procedurally, I'm sorry, Chief. 2 things. One is, I think all of your guests and everyone who's presenting has been elevated to a panelist. So all of you should be able to unmute yourselves at will just by hitting unmute. And one other reminder, if you could please just give us your name and address, which can be place of business when you start addressing the council. And with that, I'm going to go on mute. And Chief.
Thank you, Madam President. Just before you mute yourself, I just wanted to ensure that I had your permission to call on the panelists as we go through the presentation, and informally, but recognizing that each speaker is through your seat or through the chair.
Thank you, Chief. And I should have made that clear. And again, this is an unusual time because of COVID and how we do these through Zoom. Normally, people would approach the panel and be recognized by the chair. That recognition is implicit for this presentation through your acknowledging or you're recognizing your panelists and anyone that the mayor wants to call on. So unless anyone in the council has any concerns or objections to that, that's the way we'll proceed. All right.
Thank you, Madam President. I appreciate that. And before I get started, I just want to make a comment in regards to Councilperson's Toy concern about how this meeting or how this item has fallen within the regular meeting. Obviously, I can completely support transparency in government. And when I saw this item on the regular meeting, that wasn't something that I requested. It's something that it was on the agenda. And of course, with that, I put it all together. So however this council chooses to move on it, certainly I respect that, but there was no effort on my end, on anyone's end that's participating in this to try to push this through without proper analysis by the council. So that being said, I appreciate everyone's time today, and I want to especially reach out and express my sincere appreciation to the panelists that have agreed to join me on this presentation. I think it's very important that council and the community hears from their perspectives and what we have done as an agency in determining the legitimate need for these types of resources, as the mayor mentioned, and I know many of you recognize, is the challenges that face law enforcement continuing today. I speak regularly and to my colleagues at different groups, and for quite some time when it comes to this type of issue, opioid addiction and other social issues, we find that our police officers are forced to face these issues with limited resources and limited training. As you notice in my letter, nearly 80% of the police officers at Livonia Police Department are college graduates. In order to be a Livonia police officer, unless you have prior police experience or military experience, you must have a 2-year degree minimally. And there's a number of my people, of my staff members that have master's degrees, and I'm proud of each of them, and they do a phenomenal job every day. But they're not social workers, they're not psychologists. And this program, this initiative, is an effort to help ease the burden that is placed on them. So backing up, this analysis really in discussion with myself began almost 2 years ago with Judge Kenny and Judge Burton in regards to what they were seeing at circuit court and probate court and the relationship with law enforcement. Is there a better way that we could be working or partnering in dealing with people that have mental health issues? Is the criminal justice system the place for folks that are in crisis or dealing with mental health issues? And I think we would all agree that generally the answer is no. That if we're able to ascertain assistance, long-term assistance, that is certainly a win for the individual, it's a win for the community, it's a win for families to carry on and have productive and full lives. So that's the foundation of really how this discussion began with myself, both judges and area law enforcement agencies. And there's co-response models that have been rolled out, and we'll speak to that in general terms as we move forward. But at this point, if I'd like to have Judge Kenny and Judge Burton come to the virtual podium, if you will, and for their comments on where we sit today. Judges, thank you.
Sure. Well, good evening, everyone. And my name is Timothy Kenny. I am the Chief Judge in the Wayne County Circuit Court. I am in my 24th year on the bench, and I have spent 20 years in the criminal division of our court. And for 10 of those years, I was the judge in charge of our mental health court program. And we've had a mental health court program in the Third Circuit Court because there are far too many nonviolent individuals suffering serious and persistent mental illness who end up getting pushed through the criminal justice system and are not provided the avenue to get the kind of treatment that they need. When I speak to people in the community, most people are just shocked to learn that the Wayne County Jail is the largest mental health treatment facility in the state of Michigan. And if you think about that for more than about 2 seconds, you recognize that there's something really wrong with that particular picture. In my capacity with the court as a judge, I also monitor the population in the Wayne County Jail. The data that we have about the Wayne County Jail is not inconsistent with jails around the country. As Mayor Brosnan indicated, we are not unique here in terms of the problem that we face. This is an opportunity to be unique in how we go forward and deal with it. But the data indicates that approximately 25% of the men who are in the Wayne County Jail and 40% of the women are suffering from mental illness. And I want to start out by telling you that in addition to being the chief judge of the largest circuit court in the state of Michigan, I happen to be a very happy and proud resident of the city of Livonia, very happy to be in that capacity. And over the years, in my capacity as a judge, 10 years as the presiding judge in the criminal division, I have come to learn that the Livonia Police Department has equipped their officers to deal with the needs and challenges and the dangers that they encounter in their daily work here in the city of Livonia. That's come in the form of special training that they receive. It comes in the form of equipment. It comes in the form of vehicles that they receive. And tonight you're going to hear information about another type of equipment. It's not a car that'll go 140 miles an hour. It's not a weapon. What it is, it comes in the form of expert mental health professionals that can be utilized by Livonia police officers to calm a situation, to encourage individuals the police are called to serve who need help, to persuade them to get the kind of help that they need, and to further de-escalate the kinds of encounters that police and those who are suffering from mental illness often have. I think it's important, and maybe to your point, Councilmember Toy, that this is really not just an academic discussion or a theoretical discussion. This particular model is being used in Miami-Dade, Florida, and has been used for almost 2 decades. And they have been using professionals to accompany police officers when there is a need for a respond for service for somebody who's mentally ill. And the results of almost 20 years of experience has been that the number of times that there's been a necessity to make an arrest has dropped dramatically. The number of times that there's been some sort of physical confrontation between the police officer and the person who's mentally ill has dropped dramatically. And the number of instances in which individuals who are mentally ill have been able to go and get connected to mental health services has increased dramatically, and the number of arrests and cases that go through the criminal justice system have dropped to the point where Miami-Dade was able to close one of their jails. So we have data that shows that for almost 20 years, Miami-Dade, Florida has been able to be successful. And just to share with you, as was mentioned, about 2 years ago, Chief Judge Burton from the probate court and I had the opportunity to sit down and have an initial conversation. It grew out of a case, quite frankly, where I had someone in front of me that we wanted to put in the mental health court program, but quite frankly, they were too ill to actually be in the program. So I picked up the phone and I called Judge Burton and I said, Freddie, is there some way that maybe we can get people like this out of our court and connected with the kind of services that you know that you have and the kind of control that you have in the probate court? And what we can do is assist people who really need the help. Judge Burton's going to talk a little bit more about the resulting task force that we had that grew out of that conversation that he and I had. But as a result of the conversation that we had and the task force that we've created, about 18 months ago, I reached out to Chief Cade and said, can we work with you? And are you willing to look at this particular issue to see if we can utilize the city of Livonia and the Livonia Police Department to help us with our efforts to decriminalize the nonviolent mentally ill and keep them out of jail, keep them out of the criminal justice system, and get them the kind of help that they needed. Well, as it turns out, Chief Cade was way ahead of us. He had been thinking about this for quite some time. And the reason that we reached out to him is that he is a leader in the law enforcement community. He's very committed to the well-being and the safety of the community, as well as to the safety of the officers that are under his command. And he is someone who is highly regarded and influential. So as a result of our discussions that we've had, and Chief Cade and I and Chief Judge Burton, we've had numerous discussions that have led us to where we are this evening. It is the chief's plan, it's the city's plan, and we want you to know that from the Third Circuit Court perspective, and I'll let Judge Burton speak for himself, but I think we are in agreement that we are 100% behind this particular effort. This is cutting edge effort that is going to help the community. It's going to help the officers. And I would certainly urge and encourage members of the council to support this particular proposal. As sort of a matter of civic pride, as a resident, if I might, I would like to raise this issue, as the mayor indicated. This is an innovative program. There aren't others in Southeast Michigan doing this on the kind of level that Livonia is. This is an opportunity for the city of Livonia and the Livonia Police Department to be sort of the beacon of how to deal with a very serious issue that confronts every law enforcement agency, every community in this state. As a Livonia resident, nothing would make me happier than for other communities throughout the state of Michigan, as they struggle to deal with this issue, to have experts say to them, look to the city of Livonia, look to see how they deal with this particular issue. Livonia does it right. So with that, I would encourage you to please support this effort as put forth by Chief Cade and the mayor. Thank you.
Is it my opportunity to speak, Chief Cade?
If you would please, I'd appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for inviting me to sit in and to participate this evening. I want to specifically recognize Madam President of the Council, Madam Mayor, members of the Council, department heads, of course, Chief Cade, and the audience for participating. And also, by the way, I don't want to forget the media. I understand there's some media outlets that are on the line. Let me just talk about myself and introduce myself to you. I was born and raised in the city of Detroit, and I've actually got an opportunity, of course, to go to college and law school. And I have been serving on the Wayne County Probate Court since 1987. I have been granted the opportunity to serve as chief of the court on 2 occasions, under 2 stints of service. I'm in my 2nd stint, obviously, and I've been serving as chief judge in the last 5.5, 6 years. As the judge of the chief judge of the Wayne County Probate Court, along with my colleagues, there's 7 of us. We handle mental health cases exclusively pursuant to law. We handle guardianship and conservatorship matters. We handle issues involving persons who are developmentally disabled. We handle decedents' estates, and we handle trust matters. But tonight, I really just want to talk about the critical importance of what you're trying to accomplish. I offered my background to you, not just to tell you where I've come from, but to congratulate you on where the city of Livonia has come. You're taking on, I think, a critically important issue, and you're doing it in the right way. For example, would it surprise any of us to know that in the largest county in the state, one of the largest counties in the country, we don't have a crisis center. We have mobile crisis units. We have 9 of them, but data tells us we actually need about 14 or 15 of them to actually effectively cover the city. Chief Judge Kenny has talked about Miami-Dade. The person who basically founded Miami-Dade back in 2001, that is founded a program to address this kind of mental health issue, is Stephen Leifman. also a judge, and he referenced the definition of insanity. What is the definition of insanity? Where you do the same thing over and over again, and it's not working. Sitting on the bench for 34 years hearing mental health cases, I'm almost on a first name basis with at least half of the people who come there, because if they're hospitalized, they're going to get stabilized usually within about a 10 to 14 day period. They come out of the community, come out of the hospital, and they stop taking the medication, and the process starts all over again. It just doesn't make any sense. And as Judge Kennedy and I talk, and we talk 2 or 3 times a week, we're truly dedicated to trying to make certain that the people who are suffering from mental illness, the county jail should not be the largest mental health facility in our state. But that's exactly what it has been for many, many years. And that is a disgrace. What the citizens of Livonia are trying to do with this particular measure is, one, I think it's going to help our police significantly in terms of keeping them safe. Chief Cade has shared with you, I hope, the story about the diligence that his police force has developed in terms of addressing those who are suffering from mental illness, who might be psychotic, in your streets. And they've actually been wounded. They've been assaulted. Did they take these individuals to the jail? No, they took them to the hospital. But even in the hospital, it's difficult to get the kind of treatment that they require. But at least they show the training and the sensitivity and the fact that these people, they don't need to be incarcerated. They haven't been convicted of any crime. They have simply not gotten the kind of treatment that they need. And then it also puts our officers obviously in jeopardy. That's not what we want. We should be asking, how can we help not only the people who need the assistance, but how can we help the law enforcement community? And so our organization, which is called the Wayne County Jail Mental Health Initiative, is designed to divert those individuals, not just into a hospital emergency room, but to help them get the assistance that they require. I got to tell you, I'm particularly proud of the elected officials across the county. We have at least 45 people who signed up, the county executive, the prosecutor, the sheriff, you name it, they have come forward. The local police organizations have come forward. The Detroit Wayne Integrated Health Network, which has responsibility for addressing the needs of those who are suffering from mental illness in Wayne County, have come forward. The foundation community, particularly the Flynn Foundation, has come forward, and they are actually funding the efforts that we're attempting to motivate, push through to get change and to take care of our citizens who are suffering from mental illness. I can tell you this, I work out of as does Chief Kennedy, work out of the Coleman A. Young Municipal Center in downtown Detroit. The next time you are down there at night, particularly when it's cold, we're going to have a lot of snow in the next day or so, if I understand correctly. Drive along Jefferson eastbound as you get towards Woodward and look towards the building on the ground. And what you'll see are heating grates against the building. And on those heating grates, what do you see? You see people who are asleep or they're sitting there to get a heat. Yet, if you walk 4 blocks east of there is a warming center, a church that provides care and assistance. Those people instead sit on or sleep on those grates as opposed to getting help. I can tell you, if you go out and you talk to them, you're going to realize right away, these are people who simply are off their meds, they need assistance, they need care. And we haven't been able to provide it over the years. What you're trying to do as a city, I think is extraordinarily appropriate. It shows your civic commitment to doing the right thing. And I can tell you that as a neighbor of yours, I've been living in Northville for about 17 years. I wish I could convince the Northfield people, the Plymouth citizens, Canton, Novi, north of here, even though they're another county, wish I could convince them to do what you are doing. I've taken up more time than I expected that I would. I know that Judge Kennedy has done a very thorough job. I am proud that you're considering this. I will be even prouder if you approve it. Thank you.
Thank you, judges. Appreciate those comments. At this point, I'd like to introduce Sergeant Eric Marcotte. Sergeant Marcotte was recently reassigned to the Office of Professional Standards. It's been up and running now for a number of months. And when he took this position, this is one of the projects that I assigned to him to research and put a team together, which he has with him today. So Sergeant Marcotte, if you would take the helm.
Thank you, Chief. Madam Mayor, good evening, members of City Council. I'd like to begin by saying that I've been a member of the Livonia Police Department for 20 years now. And during my 20 years with the city, I've had the opportunity to work with hundreds of law enforcement officers from local, state, and federal agencies. Through my experiences with these agencies, I can say with 100% certainty, the reputation that the Livonia Police Department has held not only in this area, but within the region is second to none. The Livonia Police Department has led and continues to lead the way as a premier law enforcement agency when it comes to advancements in technology, equipment, and state-of-the-art training. And one example of this is the item presented before you this evening. When Chief Cade put me in charge of the newly developed Office of Professional Standards, I was honored and excited to take on this new position. During my first couple of weeks in this position, Chief Cade explained to me a number of goals of his, one of which is determining an innovative solution in the police department's response to individuals in a mental health crisis. Chief Cade's hopes were to have mental health professionals, such as social workers, embedded in our police department to assist Livonia officers when responding to mental health calls for service, a type of a co-response system. Chief Cade, as a result, has put me in charge of this program. As I began to do some internal research within our department, I looked into all police calls for service related to mental health petitions and discovered that over an 18-month period, our officers within the department had petitioned approximately 935 individuals to area hospitals and mental health clinics. This meant that our officers were responding to these types of calls for service potentially 2 to 4 times a day. It is safe to say that battling the mental health crisis takes up a good portion of our officers' time and efforts. After learning about the staggering numbers, I reached out to other area departments and discovered that they too were assisting people in mental health crisis, but not nearly at the rate of Livonia officers. One department in particular that has been a great resource for us is the Battle Creek Police Department. Battle Creek PD has been utilizing social workers and mental health providers to correspond with their officers to mental health calls for service for approximately 3 years now. Battle Creek PD and their staff have also demonstrated a willingness to help Livonia PD throughout a process by providing development strategies and vetting future candidates that will be embedded within our department. During my time researching the mental health crisis in our city, I developed a few other key working relationships with leaders in the mental health industry. The first of which is Jamie White, who is the Director of Clinical Development and Crisis Services with Cope and Higuera Health Incorporation, along with Carol Zuniga, who was the Executive Director at Cope and Higuera Health. Both of them are here with us this evening. The second of which, Nancy Hambrick, who is the project coordinator regarding the Center for Behavioral Health and Justice at Wayne State University. Nancy is also here with us this evening. Nancy's team at Wayne State University is working with the Livonia Police Department to collect and use data to implement the best and innovative practices for first responders and mental health calls for service. The Center for Behavioral Health and Justice at Wayne State University and the Livonia Police Department are committed to develop action plans to achieve our goals and sustain initiatives when responding to a mental health crisis. Nancy can speak to her team's efforts in further detail in a few moments. As previously mentioned, I've also been working in partnership with Jamie White at Cope, and I've had numerous conversations with her regarding our mental health program at the Livonia Police Department. Jamie and her staff at Cope and Higuera have also been a great partner with the police department in developing training and resources provided to our officers within the department. Jamie and her staff at Cope have also provided the police department with potential candidates that will be embedded in our department as social workers. Another key person to our efforts is Arnold Wicker. Mr. Wicker is a retired 30-year veteran from the Detroit Police Department and is now a crisis intervention coordinator with the Detroit Wayne Integrated Health Network. Mr. Wicker provides an immense amount of knowledge and experience with mental health education from a law enforcement angle. As recent as last month, Mr. Wicker and his staff at DWIN have trained our officers and other officers across the region on mental health first aid training. Arnold is also here with us this evening. Over the last several months, we have determined that Cope and Hagera Health Systems is in the best position to supplement our officers and deliver the services necessary to our community. We expect that the assigned social workers will correspond with our officers of the police department to help further provide assistance to those dealing with a mental health crisis. Investing in our members through formal training and commitment to develop our members and assisting those battling a mental health crisis will pay dividends in the quality of service to our community. Thank you, and with that, I'd like to turn this over to Nancy Hembrick, with your permission, Chief, to address council and speak to her team's efforts.
Hi all. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it. I'm going to share my screen with you for a minute just to look at some data. So Councilwoman Toy, thank you so much for asking if there was relevant data and information. I am also a social worker, so hopefully I checked some of those boxes for you. But bear with me a minute. I have to say, sharing my screen on Zoom is one of my big fears. So thank you for bearing with me as I do this. And that would be why. Bear with me 1 second. Okay. And there we go. Thanks. So as Eric said, my name is Nancy and I'm with Wayne State and specifically the Center for Behavioral Health and Justice. And this should, I'm going to put this down for a minute. We work in over 24 counties across Michigan. And really what we do is help counties gather data about how to make evidence-based decisions around mental health and behavioral health. We work with a lot of county sheriff's office, several police departments, the courts. I often report directly to Chief Kenny and Judge Burton. And we really, our goal is to change the course of the way that people with severe mental illness and substance use disorders interact with the criminal legal system. And before I give you the data, and I promise I'm not going to keep you long, I did want to give a shout out specifically, again, to Chief Cade and to Sergeant Marcotte, as well as to Stephanie Whitney, who's not here, but helped provide some data from Livonia PD. And as you can see, I've worked in a lot of the counties that were on the last slide. And I just need you to know that Livonia is really unique in their willingness to provide data and to be transparent. So I understand that this is a fraught time to be in law enforcement and there are a lot of feelings around it. But personally, having worked in a lot of these spaces, their willingness to say, yeah, we need to know what the data says and how to deal with some of these things is amazingly refreshing. And then finally, I did also want to say thanks to the Flynn Foundation, who has provided the grant funding for us to work on this with Livonia Police Department, as well as the Wayne County Jail Mental Health Initiative. Okay. So real quick, this data that I'm going to show you was collected between April and November 2019. And I want to point that out because that is pre-COVID. And as the mayor mentioned, and I'm sure you see on the news, the number of calls for service to police around mental health crises since COVID has only exponentially increased. So what we see in Livonia is there's a little bit over 5,000 calls per month average, and only about 1% of those in the data come up as mental health codes, coded calls. I want to point out that across the nation, this is really underreported. And what's more important, I think that Chief Cade and I have talked about as well, is the amount of time these calls take. We know that mental health calls often take much longer time with police officers to effectively resolve. A little bit about who are making these calls, because I think that's always important. And also this is about the 300 cases that we analyzed. 57% were male and about 43% were female. Nearly 3/4 were white. And interestingly, a little over 1/4 were people of color. And I know that that is a disconnect from the demographics that we see in Livonia. So it's something that could be looked into further. The average age is 39 years old. And about 10% of those were repeat callers, which had 2 to 4 calls each. Additionally, a little bit more information on this is almost 80% of the people who had law enforcement encounters were petitioned by the police. And I'm not going to go into that too detail here, just to know that the people that the police are engaging with are severely mentally ill. This isn't like a average wellness check. Additionally, 70% of these individuals were taken to the hospital, but it wasn't necessarily that they were medically needing to go to the hospital. For example, they weren't so high on drugs that they were a risk to themselves or others. They weren't injured, but there was no other alternative. And this is a really expensive and time-consuming for the police problem to have, as well as frustrating. So I think that this is something that is uniquely going to be addressed by having social workers embedded. The last thing I want to call your attention to on this slide is that if you look at a quarter of the population that we analyzed in this data collection, not only has mental health concerns, but has substance use concerns. And that crossover population is what we know to be very high risk, high need.
Ms. Hambrick?
Yes.
I'm sorry, this is Council President McIntyre. Could you go back to the slide, please? And I know we want to get through this, but could you just explain what those two percentages are at the top, petitions, exactly what those mean? The 83 subject call report petition, 81% petitioned by police. I'm not sure how to read that data.
Yes, thank you for asking. So I will say that Judge Burton would probably be the better person to answer what the petition process looks like. But what a petition is when they are asked to go before the court to get mandated into treatment. Is that enough information, or do you want me to tell you how that process works?
I'm still not exactly clear. I mean, I understand the disposition and the risk. I still don't understand what the petition, does that mean they end up in front of a judge in court?
Yes, they are petitioned to be put in front of the court. If you don't mind, Judge Burton, would you mind for 1 second explaining what that is? Because I don't want to do more damage than help.
I'll be happy to chime in, and you're not doing any damage. The 83% is reflective of the number of petitions that may be filed. There's also something called assistant outpatient treatment, which means you don't necessarily even have to go into court if you have an appropriate, or you have a psychiatrist or psychologist who is going to monitor what's happening. It's a fairly new component of the mental health code. Just implemented really, it was a change in 2017 and again in 2019 that seeks to decriminalize how we treat those who suffer from mental illness. Mm-hmm. And additionally, we attempt to keep them out of the jail or keep them even out of the hospital if they can get treatment. On the other hand, if we're able to give them treatment by way of a petition for mental health treatment, which will come through the Wayne County Probate Court, we can place them in the hospital for a period of time and add an outpatient component to the treatment that they receive. As to the 81% petition by police, I'm not quite sure what that number is. Just from my own experience, I would say that we need to look at that number and see exactly how it was compiled, because my experience is that number will be much, much lower. A lot of the petitions are by family members or by persons who are social workers in the hospital or something along those lines, and not asking the police to do 81% of that.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you, Ms. Hambrick. I know we want to move through this. Councilmember Toy.
Thank you, Madam President. If I may to Nancy, if I may call you Nancy.
Please.
I mean, Laura. I wanted to ask you, when you're talking about mental health specifically, that relates to this whole thing, how are we classifying mental health? What does that include in the definition of mental health?
Sure, I can tell you what it includes in this particular data set relevant to Livonia. And it's interesting that you bring it up because it is one of those things that across various platforms has different meanings. So thank you for asking that. In the way that we collected this data is Livonia Police Department has a code that in the way that they collect their data, that indicates that the officer identified it as a mental health related call for service.
Okay.
So
okay,
it does not have a diagnostic definition in this sense. I will say the reason I know it's underreported is because what we've found in data where there are different reporting processes is police officers and first responders often under-identify this. So this, in my opinion, is the more, this would probably fall under more of a severe and obvious crisis.
Sure. And I'd like to get into, but I don't want to take the time, as our council president has alluded to, in regards to, I went through, one of my majors is in social work, so you'll have to forgive me. But what I'm saying is, as I look at this, what kind of training, and I don't want to go into there, but one of my questions would be, what kind of training are you getting in social work schools right now to do this type of programming with a police agency, such as Livonia, the size of our city? You know what I mean? I realize that Miami's a little bit different than Livonia. You know what I mean? There's a lot of little questions I have on that. Maybe I'm getting overly picky, but as I spend money and time on this, that's why I open with, it's a deep subject, and I appreciate everyone and everyone's doing it. I'm not against it. It's just I want to understand it more to make sure we're on even ground, you know, because I feel like our judges should be here too, you know, and seeing what they're seeing in the district courts here in Livonia. I mean, they're seeing things firsthand as well. So there's a lot more to explore, and I appreciate your kinds of information you're giving us, Nancy, because this is very relatable to me. That's why I wondered how you were classifying it. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
And Councilwoman Toy, I'm happy to give you my email address, and you're welcome to ask away everything you like, because I'm one of the weird people that is passionate about this data. So
for sure. Okay, cool.
Excuse me, Judge Burton. I think Burton, did you?
I was just going to jump in for a second and say to Councilwoman Toy that we clearly have petitions that are filed, and we have hearings on these petitions to make decisions in the probate court. We are a civil court. Judge Kenny, for example, has presided over the mental health court, as do a number of district court judges, and those are usually criminal matters. That's why collaboration between us is so important. And I hope that clarifies. And I agree that we do have crisis intervention training that's being generated through the Detroit Wayne Integrated Health Network and other agencies that are providing assistance by way of partnership. So yes, the training, particularly of social workers, is critical. And eventually we'd like to see it get to a point where we're teaching teachers, showing teachers how to address those kind of behaviors that are displayed by children.
Thank you very much. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
because I am sharing my screen, I can't see if there are any other questions. Can you just please, again, interrupt so that I know?
I think we're through at least right now, presentation, Ms. Hamburg. Thank you so much.
Okay, do you want me to show you the map or no? Do you want me to just end up?
Whatever you, absolutely. This is really the chief's presentation, and if we have the map in there, then by all means, please do.
Okay, I'll go real quick. One of the things that we are always asked is where are these calls occurring? So we hotspotted the calls for service, and it's really broad across the city. So that's just informational, and for your sake, something that Chief Cade and others have asked about is whether or not more mental health calls come from group homes. And really what we found is that while that may be true, most of the calls come from individuals' personal residences, which, as Chief Burton indicated, a lot of these are from family members or people, some around suicide or other issues. And that is the largest percentage of location-wise. So with that, thank you all for your time. I'll go real quick, and Councilman Toy, you'll see some of the recommendations on here are about training. And there's a lot of crossover stuff available, and that is what Mr. Wicker can talk about as well. But really, my recommendations are that you just continue, the Livonia Police Department, and now with the partnership, continue to collect monthly data and use it, and to come back in a year and say, hey, what did we get out of this? And I know that's really important to the chief, so I just need to encode that here. And there's some other basic things, creating automated processes to notify, and making sure that even the officers that only get very basic training still continue to get behavioral health training. So with that, thank you. I appreciate your time very much. I'm happy to share the presentation out to you all and answer any questions. I'll drop my email in the chat, and you're welcome to reach me that way.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hambert.
Thank you, Nancy, for that information. And just real quick comment as we move on to Carol and Jamie from Hagera, that when I first met with Nancy, we're discussing the data and really the challenges of that, because sometimes we'll code an interaction as a citizen assist and other means that really cause these issues to be underreported than what we know is really going on. And that's something that we've shored up on our end to ensure that we're capturing the data correctly, and that we can then track it correctly. But one of the things that Nancy brought up as well with this program, and I'm just going to touch on it now, and I want to thank her for that. At the time, it just didn't, Madam President.
I'm so sorry. Vice President Barr has his hand up, and I don't know if he had a question maybe related to Nancy's presentation before we move forward.
No, you can.
Vice President Barr?
Madam President, I appreciate it, but you can let Chief Cade finish his comments, but if I can speak when he's done, that's fine. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Chief. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Just very briefly, and I just a shout out to Nancy, was that during this discussion for tracking the data, she says, well, what about your staff? And it caused me to pause. And I said, well, what do you mean? And she's like, well, the potential of having these folks embedded in your agency is going to be a benefit to your police officers, who are human beings as well, that find themselves dealing with terrible situations. And they could use this resource themselves as they cope with that, or their own family issues that occur. And I appreciate her acknowledging that and pointing that out. And I should have early on recognized it, and then for whatever reason it didn't occur to me. But with that going forward, that is one of the benefits of having this program, should council endorse it going forward. So with that, Vice President Barr.
Yeah, Madam President, thanks, Chief, and thanks everyone for speaking here tonight. This is like an all-star panel here. Every single one of you has been it's been fascinating to listen to you, and appreciate you taking the time. And Nancy, I'm a data geek too, so I appreciate you going through all that stuff. I absolutely see the need for this. There's no question about it. I think back to when I was first elected back in 2015, I remember my first informal conversation with Chief Cade outside of a council setting. And I think he brought up the need for something like this all the way back then, and just applaud him and for being so proactive and forward thinking on this and bringing this to us tonight. That being said, I mean, this is a really big, really complex thing. That affects a number of things. I've got a lot of questions. Councilwoman Toys already said there's some things that she'd like to look into deeper. Madam President, I hate to steal thunder because I do support the direction of this, but we're deep into a regular meeting right now, and I think to give this its due, I'd love to put this in committee, not to delay this. I actually hope that we can do something with it quickly, but just because this is such a large topic, the list of questions I have remaining is long, and not to question the need for this at all. I can't reiterate that enough, but really just to understand the operational part of it. There's a lot of things related to that I think we need to explore. I support the program. I love the fact that Livonia is on the leading edge of this and providing mental health support to those suffering in our community and support to our officers. I get all that. But in the spirit of, like, I think with Judge Kenny that said, in the spirit of Livonia gets it right, I'd like to offer to put this in committee of the whole so that we can really dig into those questions again. And so if I may, Madam President, I'd like to offer a substitute resolution that we do that.
Vice President Barr has offered a substitute resolution to put this into committee of the whole.
Or if you need support.
There is support. All right, now we can have a chief and panelists, if you'll just bear with us for a minute while we kind of go through the procedural angles of this. Just a moment, Councilmember Toy. Mr. Councilmember Jolly would like the floor. Councilmember Jolly.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. So I appreciate what Mr. Barr has just stated here. I'll say, as the former magistrate at the 16th District Court, I see that this is an amazingly beneficial program that's being discussed here. There are two judges here who I respect very highly in terms of their expertise, but I saw it through my own eyes at the court when we were treating a lot of these problems when people were probationers, as opposed to when they were on the street and were not quite in trouble yet, or they could have been proactively assisted as opposed to reactively assisted. I think there's a lot of work that's gone into this. I think there's a lot of time and effort of Sergeant Marcotte, the chief, the professionals on the line, the judges that are involved. I would like to vote on this tonight to get it rolling. I think there's a lot of things to figure out here, but I think a lot of these things to figure out are really administrative issues to figure out. The need has been expressed very clearly by the people who are on the call. I can attest to it as well from my experience. So I would like to keep going here tonight. And if we did have a committee meeting on this in the future, I would like to hear a report out on the objectives and the progress being made against all these stats that were provided. But I would like to vote on it here tonight. Thank you.
All right, Council Member, before we have discussion, I think before we have any discussion, I'm going to go to the parliamentarian and the city attorney. Do we need to have a vote on moving forward with the substitute resolution?
We need to vote on the motion to substitute, yes.
Okay, so before we have discussion on the specific resolution, we need to take a vote on the motion to substitute. Toy?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have discussion on the substitute a little bit. Is that okay?
Yeah, but right now,
if I may, I appreciate Jim's comments in both Scott's as well. Those of you that are on this right now, the Zoom meeting, we have an 8 o'clock meeting that we're supposed to be at as well, with people waiting for us. So I appreciate everyone that's here. And I appreciate all the comments. It's not that we're against this. It's just, like I said before, one of my majors, I deal a lot in human sex trafficking. I've been involved with it, but Chief Kenny knows what we've been involved with and others. These are deep subjects. These are
Councilmember Toy.
And supporting the substitute so we can study it further. Thank you.
Okay, we need to take a vote. We need to take a vote on whether we are accepting the substitute resolution offered by Vice President Barr.
Right.
All right. So I'm going to ask Clerk Nash at this time, if you will please take the vote on whether we are going to accept the substitute resolution that has been offered by Councilmember Barr. This is not the vote on the content of the resolution, but a vote whether we're accepting the substitute resolution.
Councilmember McCullough?
No.
Councilmember Donovic?
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly?
No.
Councilmember Toy?
Aye.
Vice President Barr?
Aye.
Councilmember White?
Aye.
President McIntyre?
Aye. So we have So the vote is to accept a substitute resolution, and as Vice President Barr indicated, the substitute resolution is to put this into committee. So now we can have discussion on the substitute resolution, the content of the substitute resolution. Councilmember Jolly.
Thank you, Madam President. In terms of, obviously this is a potential huge step forward for our community and the services provided. What kind of timeline, if we do put this in committee, what are we looking at in terms of timeline to get the professionals and the people involved in this all together for a meeting as well? Are we looking at something in the next week, or are we looking at something further down the road?
I guess that the other thing, Councilmember Barr, did you specify the committee? And I'm sorry if you did.
I thought I said committee of the whole, but that's what I intended.
Committee of the whole. Well, I don't see any reason why we can't move ahead quickly. And I think what we're hearing is a strong, and I don't want to paraphrase or misrepresent anything, but strong support for the program. So, you know, the need to have our all-star panel, as Vice President Barr put it back and convince us of the benefits and the need for this program, I don't know that we would need that. So I think we need some time internally to talk about what exactly we want to accomplish in committee of the whole, but I think we could do that very quickly.
Do I still have the floor, Madam President?
You do?
Okay, I'll just state real quick here. If I do vote no on putting this to committee, it's not because I am not in supportive of the program. The program itself, I am very supportive of. I just think sometimes we have an administration, we have professionals that are involved in certain aspects of the city governance. And in this particular case, a rationale has been laid that we should move forward with this. I would like to revisit the statistics after something like this gets off the ground. I just don't know what more insight we really have to provide here. The funds are allocated in the budget. There's a need. There's a structure that's been provided here. We've seen statistics. We've seen information. We have recommendations from amazingly well-credentialed and well-respected members of our community. So if I do vote no on sending this committee, it is not in any way because I'm not supportive of the issue itself. I do plan on ultimately voting in favor of it, whenever that may be. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Jolly. Councilmember White.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to clarify my support for this program as well. My background as a city attorney for 30 years. I have seen firsthand the need for this, especially when prosecuting cases in our local district court. So I share Councilmember Jolly's expression of the need for this. There's absolutely no question. I'm so excited that Livonia is going to be a leader in this area, but I do have questions and they're more operational in nature. We have had a stellar panel of experts present tonight, and so I know that they have put a lot of study into this, but I do still have a few questions. I know other council members do. And as long as we can get a committee of the whole meeting scheduled as soon as possible, I think that that would be helpful for us all in moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember McCullough.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to state on the record as well that if I do vote, as our Councilmember Jolly did say, that I'm in full support. I actually look at the two positions for a city of potentially 93,000 on the lighter side. And anytime you have innovation and you try to trailblaze new ideas, you know, something like this, I definitely see us as the leader going forward. And so I want to thank everyone for this incredible presentation. And, you know, this program will save lives. It's going to, you know, provide people with resources they may not even know exist. So again, if I vote no, I'm in full support. I was hoping that today would have been a vote yes and pushing this forward. I do think that obviously going to committee of a whole, it will pass. So if I do vote no in the taking it to committee, it is not meaning that I'm not support. So thank you.
Councilmember or Vice President Barr?
Yeah, I just reiterate one more time, as I think I made clear the first time, that I'm convinced on the need for the program. It's the operational aspects, how we roll it out. You know, strategy is one thing, how you execute the strategy is the next. I have, you know, I can't understate my respect for Chief Aide and everyone involved with this. And definitely recognize that there's a lot of work that's gone into this, but we represent the taxpayers who, I mean, I just saw this on the agenda the first time on Friday. I've gotten a lot of calls from residents today that said, what is this? And I think it's important that we take our due diligence to walk through and really understand the operational nature of this. To that extent, and out of respect for the people that have been here tonight, while everybody would be welcome, you know, from my perspective, I don't need to be convinced on the need of the program at this point. So, you know, the judges and Ms. Hambrick, if you're able to join us and Chief K wants you, that's fine. But I'll just tell you from my perspective, you've got me. Like I don't need to be persuaded. It's the operational side of this I want to talk through, and that's part of the reason that I brought this up when I did, because I think as we get into that discussion, you know, I think he was getting ready to go to the Higuera folks, and I think that's all part of that operational discussion and how we roll this out. So absolutely in support of the need for this, love the innovative nature of it, just think we've got a lot of discussion left.
Councilmember Toy and then Councilmember Donovan.
Thank you, Madam President. To your point, if we may, there seems like there's people in the audience that would like to speak as well. I don't know if you were planning on going to the audience or not. And I don't mean to begrudge anyone, you know, of the panel that has come forward, but it looks like there's people waiting to speak. Are we doing that as well tonight?
Well, we before we take the vote on the substitute resolution,
just wondered. Okay, thank you very much, Madam President.
No, thank you. Councilmember Donovan.
Thank you, Madam President. I would just like to thank the mayor, the chief, and everyone for their hard work on this initiative because it is a very serious matter. So I would like to thank everyone that has participated tonight and has really given everything into this program. But there is just so much information to process and to complete due diligence to this topic. I just found out about this topic a few days ago. And I would feel more comfortable studying this further and seeing this data and the program before I do or do not support something. I would like to speak to officers, some of our officers who deal with these calls for service on a daily basis. I would like to speak to some of the people from this company that work with social workers and help come up with this idea. So it's not that I do or do not support this initiative. It's just very serious, and I have received a lot of attention from residents just in the last few days, and it's really hard to give them an explanation about what this program was because it's so new. So before I do or do not support something, I just want to be have all of my information and really believe in something as important as this. So again, thank you to everyone, especially you, Chief. I look up to you and our mayor and everyone who's participated tonight. And I look forward to discussing this more. Thank you.
Thank you. Chief, before I go to the audience, I would like to ask you if there's anyone else of our panelists, and I think you've heard the comments, right, that there is, what I'm hearing, extremely strong support for the program. Some discussion wanted about the details, but is there anyone else? You've taken the time. We've had all of these outstanding panelists and presenters with us tonight. Is there anyone else that you would like to have an opportunity to speak before I go to the audience?
Madam President, at this point, with this item going to committee of the whole, I think it'd be prudent if we suspended really the remaining present individuals to present, which are essentially Carol and Jamie from Higuera and Arnold Wicker from his perspective. So if that's okay with the members of council, we'll suspend the rest of the presentation at this point. Certainly understand the concerns that have been voiced by all members of council, and and I want to thank the judges, Nancy, everyone else, Sergeant Marcotte, that they've put in their time today to be part of this presentation. And it means a great deal to me personally and certainly to our community. So thank you very much to each of them. And if it's okay with council, then I'll invite the folks from Hagera into the committee of the whole in the future.
Excellent. And I'm very sorry. And thank you, Arnold and Carol and Jamie. Jamie, I know you spoke a little bit at the beginning, but I'm very sorry. I'm not very sorry. I thank you for being with us. I'm sorry that we didn't get an opportunity to hear from you tonight after being here. But I can assure you, we look forward to hearing from you in detail at Committee of the Whole, and the council will be working to get a date on the calendar, and I will be working, the council office will be working with the chief to get it scheduled as quickly as we can when the parties we need are available. And before I go to the audience, I would just also like to thank our two very honored guests, the judges, Judge Burton and Judge Kenny. Also, Nancy, thank you very, very much. And at this time, I do need, because we always go to the audience before we take a vote, and we're voting on our substitute resolution, I will go to the audience, beginning with, and just a reminder, audience members, you have 2 minutes, and what is before the council is a substitute resolution to put this into Committee of the Whole to review the operational details before a final vote. We'll begin with, let's see, last four digits, 1498. And if you could please give us your name and address. And you should be able to unmute yourself. One 1498, are you able to, if you're just joining us on the phone, if you're not on Zoom, it's *6. If you're just on the phone, to unmute yourself. All right, I'm going to, in the issue of time, I will come back to last four digits of 1498, but I will go to Ms. Sarah Overwater. Casey, Ms. Overwater has an older version of Zoom, so could you please promote her to a panelist so she can, I cannot unmute her. Good evening, Ms. Sarah, Ms. Overwater.
Good evening. I can unmute myself. Thank you. So I just want to say that I find this substitute resolution to be rather an embarrassment. There are so many people who've given their time to come and present tonight. And the fact that it's not actually going to a vote this evening, that doesn't really look for Livonia, especially this is something that was in the newspaper, in my opinion. Putting a delay on it, yeah, it's just embarrassing. It seems disrespectful to every expert that is here tonight. And it's wasted time of citizens who came here to support the resolution as well. Mr. Barr and Mr. Donovic both said that they want the council to do their due diligence, but the due diligence in this case would be to be prepared to vote on the resolution that was before you this evening, that was actually on the agenda. Then you would have been prepared. This is a program, obviously, that has been extremely well researched, as presented to you by experts tonight. You had a chance to take a vote and do the right thing. And instead, there is this weak as water resolution to put it to a committee of the whole. And I think that it is embarrassing. And I think that you could all do better. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Overwater. All right, we'll go back to participants. We'll try again with 1498.
Hello?
Good evening.
Hello?
Good evening.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm having trouble with my phone. I'm sorry. It's Ronald Emling.
Address?
Yeah, Ronald Emling, in regards to a sidewalk request waiver at 34422.
We're not, I'm sorry, we're not to that item yet. We're still in a regular meeting, so I will ask you to hold on and rejoin us in our study meeting shortly.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll go to Tina Lindsay. Good evening.
Good evening. My father was targeted at St. Mary's Hospital for a mental health petition by the Wayne County Probate Court. And this APS worker came knocking on our door to our home, and she told me that large amounts of money was stolen from my father's bank account, which I knew that was not true. And she pushed me to get into our home, and she filed a fraudulent petition against my father, and it cost my family about $10,000 to get him out of that situation. And I later kept on investigating this woman. Her name was Tresna Tupper at the Wayne County Probate Court. And actually, Judge Burton is one of the judges that she went before I saved her.
Are you commenting on the, Ms. Lindsay, are you commenting on the substitute resolution? That this is to comment on the substitute resolution?
Yes, I don't agree with this. I don't agree with it. I think this is bad for our city.
With the substitute resolution?
With having social workers.
Okay,
yeah.
well, right now we're talking about putting this issue into committee. So I would encourage you to attend our committee of the whole.
I intend to.
And so right now that's the discussion at hand, whether we put this into committee of the whole. That's our discussion.
Okay, I just don't understand while we have these city council members, I don't understand why I couldn't get any help for my family. I mean, we pay $10,000 in taxes a year.
Okay,
I love my city. I love my city.
Okay, Ms. Lindsay, excuse me. What you're speaking of would be more appropriately handled in audience communication, since it's not specific to this agenda item. It's a general complaint.
I just thought it would be a perfect opportunity since we have police officers here and the city attorney.
Okay, well, thank you. That's not what we're discussing right now. So we encourage you to come back to our audience communication and share your concerns with us. All right, Venus Gist, good evening, and I'm sorry if I've mispronounced your name, so if you could give us your name and address, please. Are you able to unmute yourself? All right, well, we're trying to get that figured out. I will move on to Brooke Veller or Voller, and again, if you correct my pronunciation of your name, please. Good evening.
Hi, yes, my last name is pronounced Voller.
Voller, thank you.
I am in support of the original proposal. Much like Sarah Overwater, I find it a bit remarkable that all of this research was done and the presentations were prepared in advance, obviously well in advance. And all of these experts came to make the case and present this information to you, to just completely disrespect their time and cut the whole presentation short and disrespect their time, like I said. So I would just like to say I am rather disappointed in the city council today. And it also doesn't really make much sense to me when in the new business agenda, it specifically states requests to waive the formal bidding process and authorize agreement with Hagira Health. I don't really understand.
That's 2 minutes. Thank you, Ms. Voller, for your time. Councilmember Donovic, before we continue with audience communication.
Thank you, Madam President. I don't want to interrupt, but I would just like to make a point of clarification. Council does respect the time of everyone and all the experts. I can speak for myself. In the council packet that I received, I only have a vendor agreement. It's very, very broad. There's so much amazing information that our panelists are providing tonight that I've never seen until right now. So I cannot make a vote on something so important and that can really affect the lives of so many Livonia residents and our police officers with just a vendor agreement. And I would just like to research more on this topic and look into this amazing amount of data and information that these experts are providing us tonight, and also talk to officers and just the wide spectrum of people that are involved in such an amazing program. So thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilmember Donovic. Now we go to Jody White. Good evening again, Ms. White.
Hello. Thank you again for having me. And I'd like to really thank everybody for taking the time to get the information. I have been very, very active in the probate court with the petitioning and how easy it is to put a mental petition on somebody and how easy it is to be affected by the probate court and these attorneys and not so much the police, but more so the social workers. So I am respectfully asking to be invited to the next meeting. We would like to talk about the probate process. We would love to have these judges to be there, especially from the probate court, because we are concerned. Tina Lindsay, I'm very familiar with her case, and there's multiple other people that are in probate court right now and are having a hard time even getting their cases heard, and they want to be in probate court. So I think the probate court is very short-staffed. I think
Ms. White, again, I'll just remind you, we're discussing right now voting on the substitute resolution of putting this into committee of the whole, not on again, audience communication. And I'm sorry if you wanted to, talk about this at greater length and audience communication.
Well, we have been here for a couple hours also, and
no, I understand. Excuse me.
They're making a comment that they're upset that their time was wasted. So, do we not get our 2 minutes?
Excuse me. Yes, you get your 2 minutes, but you get your 2 minutes in accordance with the rules, and the rules are that right now we are discussing the substitute resolution to put this into committee of whole. This is not the appropriate time if you have general concerns with the probate court system. So please continue.
Okay. The concern is with the program that you guys are wanting to promote. So I guess please make sure that you do invite everybody. We would like to be like Mr. Donovic, who would like to have the information prior to it. I am against it the way it lies. The fact that the attorneys are more concerned and the judges, there is a red flag. So thank you, Mr. Donovic, and those who would like more information. And I think we as the citizens as a whole would like to be part of that. So thank you again for all your services.
Thank you very much for your call. Next, I'm going to go to Mr. Richard Glover. Rich, you should be, good evening. I had you there for a second.
Oh, I hear?
Yes.
Awesome. I just want to first thank you, Madam President and Madam Mayor and Jamie White, who's no longer on the call, but she's.
Richard, I'm sorry. I'm going to need to ask you to give us your name and your address, and if you want to, voluntary your kind of affiliation with the city, if you want to.
Okay, Richard Glover, 14369 Brentwood Street. I'm actually the president of the Livonia Human Relations Commission. So I keep that, just bypass that, but thank you, Madam President. Madam Mayor as well, just wanted to say hello to you. Jamie White, who's no longer on the call. I'm very excited about what you guys are trying to put together here. This is a great initiative. I'm a little, disappointed is a strong word, but I'm a little disappointed that we didn't kind of pass this today. I guess my question, I know you guys aren't necessarily obligated to answer questions, is just what's the difference between a vote today now and the actual work to get it done? Because you've all committed to that very much so. What's the difference between saying, hey, today we're going to go ahead because we support this, we're going to vote on yes on it, and we're going to do the due diligence and the work on the backside to make sure it actually happens. I think that's where a lot of people who are upset are kind of confused about, because if there's so much support, and which is great, but just want to understand, like, what if you're committed to it on the front end and or the back end, the commitment is there. Let's just make it happen. And I think in the interest of people's energy and time, and just in the spirit of getting things done, if you will, it would look much better to say, we're committed to it. We don't necessarily have all the things, the I's crossed, I's dotted, and the T's crossed, but we're definitely going to pass this tonight and figure the rest of it out. So it's a question you can choose to answer or not, but thank you guys for your time either way.
Thank you, Rich. I really appreciate the call and the question. I really didn't mean to put you on the spot. It was, whether you wanted to acknowledge that or not. So I'm sorry if I put you on the spot there. But I will address that, and then if any of my colleagues want to address it. The difference is, part of this is a no bid contract, and approving a no bid contract when there are any questions operational. It would be very unusual to take approval, to vote approval on a no bid contract when there are, and you heard the process. A substitute resolution was offered and 5 council people supported the substitute resolution, meaning that there were 5 people that thought that we needed additional details before we voted on this. And this is a no bid. First of all, it's a no bid contract. Second of all, there are a lot of operational details here. And the feeling, I believe what was indicated, the feeling of the 5 council people is you can't unravel the operational details from the goodness of the program. And again, I think what you heard is 100% support for this program, and very receptive and appreciative of everything we heard and learned tonight, and understanding why this is so essential. But you can't, as I think, again, in the views of the 5 council people, you can't untangle or you can't separate all of the details in a no bid contract from the goodness of the program. And if anyone else on council wants to elaborate, I'd be very happy to open the floor. Councilmember McCullough.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd just like to put on the record that I indeed, Mr. Glover was hoping to do exactly what you just said. And I know we obviously had 2 votes to do so. I again will state that this is an incredible program. It's an incredible move for the city. I have no doubt it will happen in the future, but it would have been a lot better if it would have happened tonight. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember McCullough. Anyone else from council? And I'd just like to add one more thing, Mr. Glover. There is a 100% commitment by me to get the committee of the whole meeting together as quickly as we can and coordinate with the chief to get the people that need to be there. So this is not a delaying tactic. We're anxious to get this done and figured out. So thank you. I really appreciate the call and the comments. All right, we will go on to Roy Johnson.
Good evening, Madam President, members of council. Thank you for your time. I live at 28490 Clarita. A little bit about myself. I'm in my 33rd year of law enforcement. I have retired from one agency. I'm currently a chief of police in a different county, and I've held that position for over 6 years now. Our mental health system is broken. Something needs to be done. I'm not quite sure if the plan that Livonia's got is the right one. Judge Burton made an important comment when he was talking about people that were in were in a hospital, couldn't get mental health help from being there. Madam President, you were asking what a petition is. If I was sent out to your house for an issue where I determined that you were a threat to yourself or to somebody else, I could take you into custody, take you down to a hospital, fill out a petition form, and you'd remain at the hospital at least till you had an initial valuation. The problem with that system is over 33 years, most of the people that I petitioned actually, after they made threats, beat me back to the city from the hospital. I don't know what the right answer is, but when they're talking about people being petitioned, that's it. And now you're talking about a almost $250,000 program that was put right on the heels of the police and fire defined contribution going to defined benefits. I don't know that that's the right thing to do, at least as far as the city picking it up. With the county being on board with this, with the probate being on board with this, is there any way we could get funding from some other type of agency to help us out with this?
Madam Chair, the time is up for the 2 minutes.
Mr. Johnson, that's your 2 minutes. Really appreciate your comments. You will have an opportunity at Committee of the Whole as you know, those are public meetings and opportunity for public engagement. So thank you. And again, please feel free to contact us by phone or email as we discussed. All right, looks like, let's see, Venus Gist is back.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Victoria McCasey, and I am going to be a co-host on the Probate radio station. And I happen to probably be the perfect person you would like to hear from. I have a brother who is severely mentally ill with schizophrenia. And I can tell you from experience, I understand the view of the police, family members, and the person themselves for being sick. It is very hard to get help for these people. And usually when the family members call, the police really can't do much to help, like this previous person said. They can take them into the hospital and hold them for 48 hours, but most of the time, they are, the county hospitals especially, accept these people because most of them don't have money or insurance, and they beat them home. And I can speak for that for absolutely a fact. It would be wonderful to have a program to help the police because I know they're under a lot of stress just with everyday crime. But I do have a problem with the probate court because there's a lot of corruption going on in all the courts, just not Wayne County. We have a problem in Oakland County as well. And we need to have the councils here of the city of Livonia go in and sit and monitor how these people are put in guardianship, and maybe talk to other families that have mentally ill family members who have been put in guardianship, and how the guardians treat these people before you go on with this.
Okay.
It's very important. I agree with the program. We need something like this for these people and for the city. I wouldn't want to live next door to a person who's flipping out and have small kids in my home and have to worry about that as well. So there is a need, but you don't rush through a vote on this. This is very important that you do your homework.
Okay, thank you. Your 2 minutes are up, and again, we'll encourage you to attend the committee of the whole meeting. We will go to last four digits, 7757, and if you are on your phone, it's *6 to unmute.
Good evening. This is Penny Kreider, resident of I wanted to just reach out and say thank you very much to the council members that are looking at this issue and that are willing to take the time to really look into what this $200,000 position is going to entail. Is there a package? What is in the package? Do they get a car? Do they have insurance? What type of education? Is there a contract that if we find out that we are not happy with what we're receiving for our money, can we break that contract? What do we have to go through? The mental health issue, yes, it's something that we as a community want to all be a part of doing the right thing to help people out, families, schools, everything. It impacts every aspect of our community. And so to look at something like this is great, but to vote on it without the people of the community that have to pay the bill for this brand new position, it's not right that it's voted on this evening. We all should be able to take a look at what's being presented. Everybody else is very well educated on the details, but we, the people who have to pay the bill in our taxes, know nothing about it. So we need to have the opportunity, be shown the respect that we can see what the details are, and then that way we can help make this program successful in our community if in fact we go forward with this.
Thank you, Ms. Kreider. Appreciate the call and the comments.
Thank you.
All right, have a good evening. And with that, we'll go to Ms. Julie McAvoy. Let's see. There we go. Ms. McAvoy.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, it sounds like Mr. McAvoy.
Thank you. William McAvoy, 33900 Wadsworth, Livonia, Michigan, for the last 50 years. I appreciate all this council has done. I was curious. This program was a surprise to me, like I guess some other people there. And have these people already been selected that are going to work this program? And if they are, when were they selected?
Boy, they haven't been selected because the contract has not been approved. So, no, I'm going to answer.
Okay. Okay, just waving okay.
Oh,
so the individuals have not yet. This is Julie McAvoy. Thank you.
Ms. McAvoy.
This hasn't been determined on, because the contract isn't settled. You don't know who the social workers will be.
That's correct.
They're Hijera. Am I correct?
Hijera, yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we appreciate the fact that some of the council members are willing to take some time and let the citizens who are going to pay the bill know what is going on.
This will give us an opportunity. The numbers, especially that, I'm sorry, Ms. Hambrick presented, that information is very helpful. But I think it could use some breaking down in order to give us a little better understanding of how the program will operate. And I think when you meet as the whole, and we'll have another opportunity to ask further questions after a little more examination, I'd like to be able to get that presentation that Ms. Hambrick gave. Is that going to be available to us?
We'll be working to determine what information will be put on the city website.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you, McAvoy. And I do not see anyone else from the audience that wishes to comment on the resolution before us. So, Madam Clerk, if you would please go ahead and take the vote on the substitute resolution, which we voted to accept on putting this onto committee of the whole agenda, and just additional, not part of the vote, is commitment to do this, get this scheduled as quickly as possible.
Councilmember McCullough,
No.
Councilmember Donovic,
Yes.
Councilmember Jolly,
No.
Councilmember Toy,
You're on mute.
Aye.
Vice President Barr,
Aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
President McIntyre.
Aye. And the substitute resolution to put this committee of the whole is approved 5-2. And we will move very quickly to get that meeting set up and not require everyone who gave their time so graciously tonight to come back and reconvince us of the need and the outstanding presentations that were made. So again, Chief, Judge Kenny, Judge Burton, Nancy, and the people that we didn't hear from, and also Sergeant Marcotte, Carol, and we had Jamie on, and Mr. Wicker. Thank you so very much, and we cannot tell you how much we appreciate the time, and really we were honored by the presence of all of you tonight at this meeting and giving of your time and your information experience. It was invaluable. So thank you, and thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Council.
All right, and with that, we go back to audience communication. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to address the council on any item that was not on this evening's agenda, now is an opportunity to do so. Calling once, calling twice, third call.
Move to adjourn.
Yes, I see. Ms. Overwater.
Oh, sorry.
Again, Casey, would you please, are you able to promote Ms. Overwater because she has an older version of the program?
Hi, thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. Once again, my name is Sarah Overwater. I live in North Livonia, but I don't feel comfortable giving out my address.
Okay, that's fine.
I would once again like to ask the council to put on the agenda a citizen oversight board for the Livonia Police Department. Continue to think that this is an important thing for the council to actually take up and discuss. I see that there have been great strides made. I have heard in the earlier presentation that Livonia wants to be a leader. and the Livonia Police Department want to be leaders. And I think that that is the best way that we can lead in Metro Detroit, is by taking up each and every one of the Campaign Zero police reform policies. These things are designed to protect members of our community. It's extremely important. They're all very well thought out, very well researched. I am tired of getting only 3 minutes to speak on this issue after having done a ton of research on it for months and months. But I will continue to show up and publicly comment and ask again that it be put on the agenda so that we can talk about it in a study meeting. It would just be so nice to feel that this is given due thought, discussion, etc. So again, asking you for that to be put on the agenda. And I would also like the council to put on the agenda declaring racism a public health crisis in Livonia. You have heard from many community members all of the reasons for that. I won't get into it right now. Again, I think this is an issue that deserves more than 3 minutes of your time. Thank you.
I muted. Thank you, Ms. Overrider. Your comments are appreciated and taking the time to call in. I believe Councilmember Toy would like to.
If I may, to Mrs. Overwater, sir, I know you've been at several of these meetings and I'm sure you're tired out. I would like you to, if you would please, to give me a call. I want to hear the information you have, especially if it pertains to this panel kind of situation that you're describing. And I'm sure, you know, I don't want to speak for others, but I would really like to hear that in all fairness, myself as a council elected person as well as for you. So if you wouldn't mind, my number's listed with the council office. I won't give it to you publicly because I don't want everybody on the panel calling me tomorrow. But yeah, I'm just joking. But honestly, right. Give me a holler, please. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Council Member Toy. All right, we will go back to 1498. Good evening.
Yeah, I've got the sidewalk.
Yeah,
issue.
We're not quite there yet. We're getting there. We're getting there. I promise you, this is a very long regular meeting. Stay tuned. We'll be back shortly for the study meeting, and then you will know when it's time to address the sidewalk issue, and I'll make sure that you're there. All right. Thank you. Okay.
Motion to adjourn, Madam Chair.
Mr. Johnson.
Oh, I tried.
Yes. Okay. This is the last time that I'm talking. I want to address the young lady that asked for the Civilian Oversight Committee.
Okay, Mr. Johnson, just again to remind you, your comment should be addressed to the council, not to.
Okay. Okay, Madam President, Council. I don't think the Livonia Police Department needs a Civilian Oversight board. Like I said, I've been doing this for over 30 years. I am a current chief. Livonia has got one of the most transparent police departments that I've ever run across in my career. Their policies and procedures are all online. That is not typical. And if the council feels at some point that they feel that it is necessary, it is imperative that they do not go with an all-civilian oversight board due to the fact you can't have people that are driving bulldozers supervising people that are doing brain surgery. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Johnson. And we will, thank you very much. And we will go back to Ms., I believe it was Voller. Good evening.
Hi. Yes, thank you. I just wanted to note that according to the live transcripts, I spoke earlier from 20:57:35 to 20:58:48, and that was less than my 2-minute allotment.
Well, I
would like to ask for 4 minutes to publicly comment.
Excuse me? No, you do not get 4 minutes. the parliamentarian keeps track of the time, and your contention is, Ms. Voller, that you were denied how many seconds?
Less than a minute. I do not have the exact number of seconds.
The parliamentarian keeps track of the time, so if you'd like to, you have 3 minutes right now. If you would like to, if you'd like to address the council, you have an opportunity to do so right now.
Sure. I would like to say I don't know the process for putting a proposal to vote on the agenda. But if 5 council members did not feel comfortable with the operational information they were provided and the questions that they had, I do not quite understand why the proposal was put on the agenda for tonight and why there were so many important leaders here today giving their time to present this information when it was not going to be able to be fully considered, especially given the time allotment of this particular meeting. As an aside, I would also like to say I support Ms. Overwater's comments for the Civilian Oversight Committee. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for your comments. All right, and if there's no one else from the audience that wishes to address the council on any item not in this evening's agenda, now is an opportunity to do so. And again, I would just like to respond in general to Ms. Voller's comments about the timing. We take great care to allocate the time as is prescribed in our rules. 2 minutes for an agenda item and 3 minutes during audience communication. We work very carefully and very hard to make sure that everyone receives his or her due time. So I apologize if there was some disconnect there. All right, with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved by Councilmember Toy. I believe if we're still 7, we can show. Pardon me?
Support.
Okay, we have 7, and thank you, everyone. We will reconvene. We're going to take just 14 minutes. We'll reconvene at 9:40 for the study meeting. Thank you, everyone. I know it's been a long time. Thank you to everyone who joined us tonight.